The Very Serious Crafts podcast is on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/seriouscraft to support our podcast, find out about our Patreon half-stitched episodes, and more.
Hello and welcome to Season 5, Episode 9 of the Very Serious Crafts podcast. I'm Molly from Wild Olive.
And I'm Haley from Red Handled Scissors and the Bones and Bobbins podcast. Today, we'll be talking about gadgets we don't need.
But they're so good!
And yet we still have them.
We have them, we want them, we just don't need them.
No, and I especially have encountered all of those that I do not need.
Yeah.
Just in the very recent past. So I think, by the time people are listening to this, I will have moved.
Yeah. Oh boy. So that'll be exciting. And then soon after we get to enjoy the house's Instagram account. I just can't wait. Just can't wait.
I keep forgetting that I set that up, and I keep getting messages from it because I didn't turn off any of the notifications. So it's like, why don't you follow these famous people that you don't care about? I'm like, I don't think my Victorian house wants to follow you.
No, probably not.
No. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't know who you are, so.
I love it.
Sports stars.
I mean, sports stars and Victorian house definitely go together.
Like that. I mean,
Well-targeted.
historic stadiums.
There you go. See, I can see the house following historic stadiums. That's a much better connection than modern sports star.
Except most of them don't exist anymore. So following.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sad to say. Is it Wrigley Park? Was that Chicago's?
Wrigley Field,
or was that Detroit?
No, Wrigley is Chicago. Yeah. It's still Wrigley Field. And then there's what was Comiskey and is now, I don't even know what it is anymore. Guaranteed Rate Field? I don't know if it still is that. It's something dumb.
I
don't know.
I do not have any idea what any of the ones
which is why
here are actually called.
Yeah, which is why we have a craft podcast, not a sports or sports stadium podcast.
It's true. Although I do subscribe to a single sports podcast.
Okay. Yeah.
A true crime podcast.
We'll see. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very funny. It's called Crime and Sports. I highly recommend, even if you don't care one way or another, because the hosts are hilarious.
Okay.
Anyway, before I go entirely off the rails, and before we jump into talking about today's topic, we want to give a shout out to our serious friends of the Very Serious Crafts podcast, who are supporting us at patreon.com/seriouscrafts. Many thanks.
Thank you,
to
friends.
all of you.
Yeah.
You're the best.
We like ya.
It's true. It's very true. I like you so much that I will even say both our title and our Patreon address, even though I have a lisp and it hurts every time.
Oh, man. Wow. There you go.
Mm-hmm. That's love, my friends. Love.
All right. So, should we talk about gadgets and accessories for your sewing and stitching and knitting and crocheting and all of the things?
I want them all.
I know. My grandma was a big cooking gadget person. If there was something that was new and different, she had to have it, and even if it was rarely, if ever, used. And it certainly has carried into, she had lots of gadgets for her knitting as well and sewing and things, but it certainly has carried over into this area. And the first thing that came to mind in this topic was specifically enamel needle minders, because
yes,
needle minders are helpful. That's a nice
very
thing,
useful,
but you don't need to have a needle minder, right? You can get by without it really easily. But it's one of those things where I feel like in embroidery, especially embroidery and cross stitch, there are fewer gadgets and accessories and fun little things than with
Except
other things.
that there aren't really. I went down the rabbit hole of thread layers today.
Okay, yeah, which I'm very excited to talk about. But like in like the mainstream ones, you don't. There's not a lot of things that you instantly see. But I remember when needle minders first kind of like came back in popularity, especially the enamel ones, and it was like the thing you had to have because I felt like we didn't have as many cool tools as other crafts did in that. So I was like, yes.
Yes. Well, the problem with enamel needle minders, though, is they're so heavy. So the more interesting they get, the heavier they get, and then they hurt my hand when I'm, say, writing a book.
Yeah, they definitely throw off your stitching balance. It is.
They do.
It is real. And you kind of have to have
if you've got a stand, like an embroidery stand, that's fine. I actually usually put my needle minder on something else.
Right.
Like on my shirt or something like that.
Yes, that makes sense. I've also been known to actually just stick it up on the metal hardware of the hoop so that it's not like through the fabric smart. Because it will stick there. But that doesn't always work either because as you're handling it, you may knock it off. But they're one of those. Sure, they're handy, but nobody really, really needs a needle minder.
No,
I say this also as someone who's designed some. So it's like,
unless you're doing something where you have multiple colors going at the same time, but even then, you can just put the needle in the fabric.
Yep.
It's simply not that difficult. I don't know. They're cute.
They're cute. Exactly.
I have several. The sheer quantity of cat paw prints.
Nice.
Of different varieties that I have found while packing. Impressive.
I even have a needle minder of one of my own designs that was.
I have a needle minder of your design.
Well, I have one that was made illegally. Because
you bought a knockoff of your own design?
I didn't buy it. So what happened was someone made like these knockoff enamel charms of my designs and they were selling them through like Alibaba or something. And several people bought them and made them into needle minders and were selling them on Etsy. And so I would like contact them and I'd be like, just so you know, this was not officially licensed or anything. And one person was like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Can I send you some? So I own a couple of them.
That's sweet.
It was really sweet. Everyone that I contacted was super gracious about it, but it is kind of funny to own these things because I wasn't going to spend money on it.
No. I do love it when people tag me in. Like, there have absolutely been people who have, throughout the years, stolen my tutorials. Like,
sure.
Done a lot of things. And when people tag me in them because they think I would like it, you just have to be like, yep.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I wrote that.
Well, these sellers had no idea. They just ordered a thing on, right? From a wholesaler in China. And there's no way trying to track that down. It wasn't happening. And I just laugh about it now.
I mean, even reverse image searching isn't necessarily going to help them.
Yeah, no. Anyway,
that's funny though.
Okay, so let's talk about the laying tools.
Okay.
Because I almost added to the list something very similar. So
Oh, I am going to make a confession. I own several laying tools.
Huh?
But until this morning, I have never heard of a laying tool.
Okay. Yeah.
And I know how they work. I understand how they work.
Mm-hmm.
And if you happen to be a person who does not understand how they work or know what they are, you're not alone.
Yeah.
And for, say, cross-stitching, they're basically they look like an awl.
Yeah.
Or
more like a rounded tip.
Yeah, I mean, you could even use like a darning needle or
Right.
something like that.
Yep.
But when you are bringing the thread from the front to the back, before you pull it all the way through, you stick that little rounded end underneath so the two threads, assuming you are stitching with two, are parallel. And it works the same with any number of threads, but it's to keep your threads from getting twisted and keep your stitches laying flat.
Yeah. And it I see you have a beautiful one that you have put a link to in with our show notes here, but I have just like a basic one, but it's that little needle like tool is attached to a ring. And are they always attached to a ring?
No.
Okay.
They are most often not. So I'm actually reaching behind me. This is one.
Oh, wow, that's very different.
So they can be like just vaguely rounded points, like any sort of tapered end.
Yeah.
Can be used in that way as long as it's smooth enough for the stitches to not get snagged. Right. And so really common ones are like tapered pieces of wood. Then there are metal ones that really do look like sewing awls, and the only way you would know that they weren't is because usually they are slightly fancier made and have like tops that screw on to protect the tips.
Okay.
They have historically existed on chatelaines as chatelaine attachments. And so I just went down a heck of a rabbit hole today. And like you can get beautiful acrylic ones.
Well, you see, and
I have a glass one and I didn't even know it was that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And so, okay, I have one that came in a box of primarily ribbon embroidery supplies from like an estate sale. And I had never seen one before that and had to figure out what it was. And it's a very basic one, but it is a ring style one, so that the idea being that, you aren't having to pick up an extra tool as you are stitching, which makes sense.
Yeah.
It's very convenient. Similarly,
and I mean, they're usually small enough that you can hold it against, like with whatever hand you're holding the hoop, you can hold on to it. But I think the ring it's
very clever.
The better way to go.
So
personally,
in a similar category, while I was thinking about things for this episode, I also came across finger stilettos for sewing. So I have never worked with. There's a really cool.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's so.
Now we need to ask Heidi about it.
I
wonder if she.
I don't
knows
know
about them.
So have you ever sewn with a stiletto?
Mm-mm.
Neither have I. But the idea.
I mean, I know.
Yeah. So if you're listening and don't know what it is, it's like again, similar to what we were describing for the laying tool. It's like a little spiked tool that you use to kind of help hold and guide things and smooth, get more even seams and sewing. And the idea with the finger stiletto is that you wear it on your finger so that you can help guide pieces through your sewing machine without sewing your finger. Isn't that a novel idea?
I use a wooden chop.
See? Same idea, just different format. And the finger stiletto I actually thought would probably work as a laying tool as well. It's like the one that I saw that was the cutest.
Because they would definitely work.
Yeah.
As a laying
because
tool
so many of the things that I am delighted by, the gadgets and tools I'm delighted by, are because they are cute, and yes, they're useful, but they're not needed, but they're cute, right? And this one was like the oxidized aluminum, like the old style like drinkware. Yeah. And I just was like, oh, well, that's It's pink. Maybe I should get that.
I feel great.
Yeah.
About that for you. I think that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I definitely purchased, while going down this rabbit hole, several tools.
Sorry about that.
Nah, fine. One of them is literally a Thumbtack Presser.
Ooh.
That is, like, rounded like a doorknob.
Okay.
With a foot that comes out and is flat, so it's basically like a really, really stable surface.
Yeah.
Onto which you could put a lot of weight. I'm personally going to be doing some upholstery soon.
That makes so much sense.
Yep. And it also came with a remover tool.
See, now I feel like it's like we're into the category of you probably do need it. By the way, one of the things that will be, this, I feel like I should apologize to you, Haley, right now, because this is going to be a show notes heavy episode. We're going to have links to all of the wonderful things that we love here. But,
it's fine. I'll leave.
one of the things that will be in there is a list from a website called mygoldenthimble.com, and it's a list of sewing gadgets. And one of the things on here, she calls it a multi-purpose thing, and it is like
I think it's this.
No, this one's plastic, but it might be similar.
Purple?
It comes in a bunch of colors. It has,
because there's one called a purple bang.
This one can be used like what is the word that I'm looking for? The tool that you can use to hold on to like elastic or stuff to thread it through.
A bodkin?
A bodkin, thank you. I kept thinking bobbin, and I knew that wasn't right.
Oh,
see, there's another tool.
I found a bodkin when I was looking through things for this episode that was an antique that says Princess Charlotte died.
What? I love it.
I didn't buy it. I'm probably gonna buy it, let's be honest. But that's for my other podcast.
Yeah, I like it.
Sure.
Yeah, I like it. No, this one is plastic, but it also can be used as a sewing stiletto or a bodkin, or there's all the different things. So
the another name for the thread laying tool, I just remembered this that I wanted to mention, is also called a trolley needle.
Oh, I have not heard that one. So look at all of the things we're learning right now.
It lines up the threads into rows.
So cute.
I mean, I'm guessing that's why it's called that. But anyway, before we moved on, I wanted to remember to say that so people weren't like, I have something like that, but it's called something entirely different.
Yeah, and you know what? When you Google that name, one of the first pictures that you see that comes up is exactly the version that I have that came in that estate sale box. So there you go. Now I just have to actually try using it, and because if I could get really proficient at it and I could use it quickly, that would be amazing.
All of the ones that I've seen are literally darning needles soldered onto a ring.
Yeah. Which is probably how they were initially created.
I have this soldering tool directly above my head. I have just a truly magnificent collection of darning needles. And I have a metal hammer and an anvil.
I think you're ready.
Yeah. Anyway.
There's one that's also attached to a thimble.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of those too.
So many.
And
options.
I gotta say, I don't like that.
I would have a harder time, I think. Yeah.
Because I use my stitching hand with the thimble.
Yeah.
I don't use my other hand.
Yeah.
And so if you are a two-handed stitcher, that would make sense. If you were using a double-ended needle, that might make sense. Though I keep forgetting to actually try my two-sided needles.
So do I. And I just came across it the other day, and I was like, I really should try that. But I'm so in the rhythm of stitching the way that I do that I think switching now would be harder.
Yeah, if I switch, I gotta start it at the beginning of a book.
Yes. Oh no. But then you're locked in because, or just a really small project.
I may or may not have sent an hilariously ill-timed email to my agent recently. Yeah. So
I've done similar things.
Yeah.
But now the ball's in my court, so we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Anyway, where are we? What else are we talking about here? What do we got?
I would like to tell you about an additional Victorian-themed sewing things what you did not know you needed. I found this ridiculous, beautiful object that is the solid brass bird hemming clamp with pincushion.
All right. I'm viewing.
I just need you to look at it.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, it's just a beautiful object. No matter what you do with it, it's a beautiful object.
I am not entirely sure why we would call it a hemming clamp, because I'm not entirely sure that I guess you could clamp hemming to a table? I don't know.
I've never heard of a hemming clamp at all.
No, me
which
neither.
I will say first, this particular listing, it is a reproduction, which makes sense given its price of $25.
Yeah, everything that I listed in the show notes for these tools are reproductions, so they are actually affordable.
But it is based on an antique piece, so yeah, this exists.
Isn't it cool though?
It's very cool,
and it is a solid brass object.
Well, and the fact that it's like a C-clamp that you would screw onto the side of a table. The only reason you would have that is if you really needed it to be holding something in place, because you don't need that just for your pincushion.
No.
Or for, low-key holding something. So I'm curious. But they say the beak is a convenient third hand holding the fabric taut while stitching. So
do you know that there's such a thing as hemming clips that are basically like paper clips that you slide on, but they are like stainless steel and ruled?
Oh, that sounds very handy.
Also just discovered that. Guess I'll add it to the list.
Well, and also I just want to warn you, once you start looking at the reproduction hemming clamp, you do get to see an authentic 1850s one. So this is definitely
a housewarming present for me.
Oh, this one has like a mini pincushion on the back of the bird clamp as well.
That's adorable.
It is adorable. Oh dear. See? We don't need these things, and yet maybe we do.
Listen. Yes, we do.
Oh my.
I don't know.
It's a whole world that I didn't know existed.
Entirely unrelated to Victorian sewing ephemera. Anything AccuQuilt has ever made, I probably want and definitely don't need. Very specifically, the Go Big electronic cutter, which they gave me years ago, and it is just a delightful tool. Like, very into it. And I also have approximately 1 million different kinds of quilt block.
Yeah. Like,
also pieces of ephemera.
Yeah. I could see how that would become a very, very useful tool. And also, you can just cut those on your own.
You can. I think that...
I dislike cutting quilts, though, so I could see how it would be very appealing.
I, too, dislike cutting quilts, and it cuts many layers at once, and it makes a zzz sound.
Oh, nice.
And, like, that delicious crunch of a blade going through so many pieces of fabric that you aren't going to have to then do anything about.
Is there a lot of fabric waste with it because of how it cuts the pieces out?
Depends. I mean, it's like any other pattern cutting guide, that it depends very much on how you place things.
Sure. Okay.
And if you're fussy cutting.
Right. Well, obviously that's always an interesting situation.
Yes.
Okay. I found something recently that I definitely don't need, but I really want. And it is a bobbin minder, specifically an embroidery floss bobbin minder.
I saw this.
And so, if you're familiar with the traditional little cardboard bobbins, which you can also get in plastic and other very nice materials, that you wrap your embroidery floss on, the kind that you would put in your little, plastic box to organize them all.
Yes.
This one is a little long wooden tray that holds maybe about a dozen of your bobbins. And
it's very satisfying looking.
Very satisfying looking. I don't store my embroidery floss on those kinds of bobbins. So I do. Yeah, see, it would be more useful for you. And the idea being that you would pull your threads for a project and you would have them all lined up. And when they're all lined up in this little tray minder thing, you can see their color numbers up at the top. And it's very satisfying.
So, it is very satisfying. I keep mine on a binder ring.
Yeah.
And it's similarly satisfying and visual.
Yeah. But like
my cats would eat it immediately, and we already know how expensive that surgery is.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No.
My only,
but it's really
cute.
Satisfying.
Like it's really like a nice, and it's like, because it's made of wood, it
just looks good.
It's nice. Yeah.
I want to take photos of it.
That's exactly
I want it in the background of photos.
That's the thing.
That's what I
would be buying this specifically to have it look pretty on my shelf and take photos with it. I really would not use it actively. However, maybe you might, and so you should definitely check it out. It's all handmade and delightful, and so. And by you, I mean like cool. Everyone listening to this.
Well, and also
and also
me
you.
Specifically, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, oh.
Mm-hmm. It's just very satisfying.
Yeah. I also I have the little wood blocks for organizing your quilting rulers, and
I don't have those. And I'm unsure how I have managed to not have them.
Well, mine were actually...
I have, the rotary cutter cases and stuff.
Yeah. I don't have those, but mine were a gift from... I'm not going to be able to remember offhand who it was, but it was someone whose husband made her a set, and I said, "Those are so cute. Where did you get them?" And she said, "Let me send you some." So it was very... very sweet.
That's really sweet. Yeah. That warms my heart when humans do that. Yeah, I also don't have the racks for the AccuQuilt dies.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, my situation's about to change, so there might be a little bit of room. However, there almost certainly will not be enough room to justify the next thing on my list.
Okay.
Which I have been eyeing vaguely from across the room through a window, that kind of distant. There is a table that Singer made for featherweight sewing machines, specifically for apartments with limited space that are folding dining tables that you can put a block into to complete the table and remove it to put your featherweight into it.
That is delightful.
It's like a card table, essentially.
Yeah.
And it is, like, specifically advertised for apartment living.
I love it.
It is amazing. And I don't need one. I don't need one. But, oh my goodness. And finding one that's even... They didn't make all that many of them.
Yeah.
And so finding one that's even functional is a stretch. And finding one that's complete is a real stretch. Finding one with the wood veneer, not warped. Like, I think I found one that I might consider getting, and it was thousands of dollars.
Oh boy.
And, I mean, thousands of dollars and not even great shape.
Well, but,
although I think it would be, that's a thing you'd find.
Yeah. I was going to say, it could be
in the wild.
The thing that you just kind of have as your always on the lookout type of item. So, yeah. That does sound very cool, though.
It is. It's just so satisfying. It's like Single Girl in the City.
Yeah.
Like, it fell out of the book The Best of Everything, which is my favorite book, if anyone wondered.
There you go. I like it. What
else do you have?
This one I think might be controversial because I think you would probably like this one, but I have absolutely no use for this. It is a threaded needle holder. Like, Clover makes this thing, and it looks like a little spaceship, and the idea is when you thread your needles, you put them all into this little, like, turning thing, and it holds all of them threaded. And I don't pre-thread my needles.
I would love this for book writing.
It would be really good for you. I don't pre-thread my needles. That's just not how I work. But it's still very delightful. I don't necessarily
pre-thread them, but I switch off colors sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I do sections, not full colors, because the moment I do all of one color, I will screw up one stitch and have to rip it all out.
Yes, I get that. Yep.
But, that would have prevented that biggie surgery.
Well, see, there you go. You can add that to your cart right now. I
am literally adding it to my cart right now.
It is, even though, again, like that bobbin minder, even though I don't work this way, I find this to be a very intriguing gadget. So, that is on there. I think
I love a gadget.
I know. One of the things that I probably will be getting, I just have to decide which one I want, is a magnetic pattern stand. And Katie Green had one of these the first time we ever met up in New York. And I remember it coming out of the knitting bag, and Katie had it all set up with the pattern. And the idea is it's like a little stand-up folder kind of a thing that is magnetic, and then it comes with a magnetic bar so that you can put it across your pattern to follow line by line.
Oh yeah, I've got one of these.
Yeah, and Katie used it for knitting, which absolutely makes sense if you're working on a chart.
I think the first time Katie was ever on this show, on maybe that trip.
Okay.
Is when I learned about
That's
this.
Very possible. So, but with cross-stitch patterns, it also makes a ton of sense. Do you need it? No, of course you don't need it. But do I think it would be useful? Yes, it would be. So
I have the alligator version that's basically that, but magnet on both sides. So it sticks to itself.
I've looked at that. Does it work well?
Mine is Vintage Creative Circle.
Okay.
I have
so
two
it
of
works
them.
well.
And they are, they're good.
I looked at a newer one and people said they were kind of on the flimsy side, so I was looking more at the folder.
I think I would go with the folder.
Yeah.
Honestly. Because it doesn't bend over.
I will probably get one for me and one for my sister while she's working on stuff so that we are both all set for all the stitching.
Oh, yes.
But But yeah,
think that
I
is
just,
delightful.
again, there's a whole range of options for them, and different things, but that will probably be my next gadget purchase, to be honest.
Gosh, I love a gadget.
Yeah. Well, okay, similar. I saw Heidi of Hands Occupied and the Very Serious Crafts podcast reposted something from someone who was using one of the rings that you use for stranded knitting, where it like
I've never seen one actually being used.
Yeah, I think she shared a video of it.
Them. Oh.
Yeah. But it was like in stories, so it would be gone by now. But you can find videos of them, and I've seen, even when I was looking them up, there's ones where people will have like 4 colors. They're like, those ones aren't as cute, the ones that have lots of places for colors to go through. But there's some beautiful ones that are just designed sometimes for continental knitting or for stranded knitting with multiple colors. And yeah, it's just, you see it and you're like, I should add that to my accessories.
I can't remember if I have one. I haven't gotten to that drawer yet.
Do you have
the drawer where it lives?
Do you have a ring that works as a cable needle? I think. I feel like
I have a necklace that works as a
go.
cable needle that Heidi got me,
Okay.
actually. And I have a ring that is a needle gauge.
Yes. Nice.
Yeah. And I mean, that's more decorative.
Yeah.
But I also have a needle gauge necklace, I think.
Cool. I have both a sterling silver and a leather measuring tape bracelets.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I also have that. And I wrote a tutorial about making one years ago.
I also did a tutorial on making a bracelet out of just a traditional measuring tape. Yep.
Same. I wonder if our bracelets are similar.
Now we'll have to find out.
Because they probably would have been about the same time.
They probably were. I made my first one out of like the really the old cloth measuring tapes, and then I made a second one for a friend who wanted one made out of like a plastic bracelet, specifically out of a red measuring tape, because he was in the middle of doing things that kept getting hit with red tape, and he was like, I want to wear a bracelet with it. So yeah.
That's really funny. Oh my goodness.
Okay. Well, we should probably stop now, because we have gone on for quite a while about all of our favorite things, and this could be. We should have put a warning.
Enough money.
Yeah, we should put a warning at the beginning of this. If you are trying not to spend money,
might cause spontaneous retail theft.
If you are trying not to add to your collection of things you don't need. But so many fun things to look at here. So I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed this very much.
Me too. Yeah. Well, now I'm going to have to close all of these tabs and walk away slowly. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I'm just going to end up with a bunch of mail and already packed boxes.
Yes, we don't want that. We don't want that.
No. It can wait.
Yes. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, listeners. I hope that you enjoy the shopping that will inevitably come from this episode. And if you get something cool, tell us about it.
Yes,
because
please.
We obviously want to know.
Yes.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.